Oh, there's a little bit of echo. All right, so thank you to James very much for helping me with letting me know that the audio wasn't coming through on... Sorry, I'm just going to make a slight change here. I'm hearing an echo in my ears. There we are. So thank you very much to James for letting me know that the audio was not coming through. So hence take two. That's why doing these test broadcasts to try and sort out all the problems and the issues and so on. So obviously you didn't hear a single word of all that 40 minutes plus that that was being broadcast before. So what I'll do for this live stream, which will just be essentially a quick recap of the stuff that I spoke about in that one. Hopefully it won't be 40 minutes and we'll be able to keep it nice and short. So thank you very much for joining me on the LinkedIn Live here. My name is Tony Morrow and this is the Getting to Hired live stream. Getting to Hired is a video series that helps the military veterans successfully transition from your military career to your new successful civilian one. It's a video series that you'll find here on LinkedIn and also on YouTube at Getting2Hired. Please go over there and check out all the banked episodes, other pre-recorded episodes that you will see there, from the most recent one with Jeff Alpaw of Jeff Alpaw Custom Clothing and his dangerous line of dress shirts, as well as the very first videos that we created, including what we'll start off now, which is the Value of a Veteran series. You'll find that also on my LinkedIn profile, kind of in the description. This series, a little hot there on the microphone, this series and... Not you, Siri. This series is, again, focused on helping military veterans successfully transition. And in the context of, excuse me, those who might be watching this program, are you an organization, so to speak? Are you representing an organization and you're interested in the talent pool that is military veterans, or are you a military veteran looking to successfully transition into civilian life? So from those two perspectives, I'll provide these two kind of reasons why Getting to Hired is of value to you. If you're an organization and you're trying to assess whether veterans have any value or something that would be different from the average person off the street, then let me tell you this. The Value of the Veteran series discusses this about the military mindset. The military mindset is a unique value proposition that military veterans bring to any organization. They bring with them a cultural heritage, a set of training, and a range of experience that proves and validates their value to organization through their tenacity, their drive, and their ability to adapt and overcome to uncertain circumstances to a high degree of efficacy. They can figuratively land on the ground without a perfect picture, without all the information, and to be able to operate and execute to a high degree of effectiveness, accomplishing your operational goals. They bring with them a weight of commitment and a heritage of sacrifice from their time in uniform that they readily want to apply to your organization. As an organization, all you need to do is enable them and provide them the value and support to recognize what they are bringing to your organization. And an obvious question that comes up is, well, what kind of hard skills do they have? What kind of technical expertise do they bring to the table? One of the challenges that many military veterans have is to be able to validate their technical expertise. Myself, as a naval warfare officer, formerly known as a Mars officer here in Canada, but for those who don't know either, I refer to it as Captain Kirk in training. You are the operations officer of the ship, and depending on your level of seniority or your progression throughout your career, you're anyone from the officer of the watch, or the person who is operating and coordinating all the activities on the ship. That is from the seamanship evolutions to launching and recovering aircraft and boats, to the weapons exercises or the warfare exercises that you may be conducting as part of a military a ship at sea. And keep in mind, these are ships with 200 or more people on board at any one time, and they're operating not only with other units around them, but internally to be able to make sure that people are fed on time, that people are moving to be able to have the right teams in place at the right time to be able to execute whatever it is that they're doing, from a boarding operation to launching and recovering a boat to recovering a man, a person lost at sea. to launching or recovering aircraft, or whatever the case may be. So what kind of technical skills do they bring in that regard? Well, you may have certain accreditations, whether you are, depending on your trade, there are Red Seal certifications. Well, I should say there are QL5 and QL6 qualifications that you may have as a military member that then you can translate into Red Seal certifications depending on your trade. There's a great organization called Helmets to Hard Hats that will help you in that skills translation piece and to be able to connect those dots if you're a military veteran looking to do that. Also, as far as hard skills that they bring, whether it be technical expertise in any particular environment, whether it's the marine or aeronautics or aviation industry, if you are whether it be a technical maintainer of an aircraft or the weapon system, if you are specifically an engineer or weapons tech, whether it be marine systems, radars, the computer systems that operate the software that we use to be able to coordinate and manage a warfare theater or environment. There are all these levels of technical expertise that those military veterans may bring to your organization. IT security, information technology, network management. A ship is essentially a floating IT network space that is constantly being managed and has to be operated with a high degree of redundancy because of the nature of the operations that we conduct. So hard skills they bring to the table, but also the soft skills that are so important. And this is probably the thing where military veterans have a great deal of difficulty communicating it. Understand, if you're not a military veteran, that military veterans do not like to talk about themselves, do not like to get on a soapbox and market themselves or speak of their accolades, because that is not the culture from which we come. Many military veterans come from what's called the gray man, come from a culture where the gray man is king. The gray man is the person who does not stand out, either because of incompetence or profound competence. They are part of the pack. They sit back, they let their work speak for themselves. They operate at a high degree of effectiveness and efficiency, but their work speaks for themselves. They keep their nose to the grindstone, they get it done, and their accolades come as a result of the work that they produce. And that work will then provide them the advancement and the career recognition that they're looking for. It is not normal in a military environment for military members to be able to stand up and say, I am phenomenal at this, that, or the other thing, and that I should be recognized for this thing that I did, or what have you. Rather, they want to be able to, or we've been conditioned to be able to perform in high stress, high demand, results-oriented circumstances to be able to provide a result for the organization. And sometimes we sacrifice in order to be able to achieve those results. So if you're an organization that values commitment from your employees, investment from your employees, performance from your employees, and the professionalism that a military veteran will bring, showing up on time, if not early, making sure they are dressed appropriately, showing up on the job site, whether it be whatever your job site may be, they show up prepared, ready to execute in advance of the timing that you gave them. They're able to coordinate, marshal, and direct people in and around them with whether they are part of their team or not. They are able to inspire, promote, and develop those that are around them, either as subordinates or even managing up their leaders. They are a unique value proposition for you as an organization because of all this that they bring. Now, if you're a military veteran, and you heard me say that and you're shaking your head going, oh my God, I can't believe it, you need to recognize the HR asset that you are. And not to say that the metaphor that I've used in the past is you are like a professional athlete. When you are performing with your team, whether it's hockey or football or basketball, whatever your sport of choice, football, soccer, football, whatever your choice may be, you as an athlete are performing as part of a team. You are working in coordination with the rest of your team to get the result, which is winning the game, winning the series, winning the championship, whatever that may be. You are results oriented. But when it comes time for you to negotiate your contract as an as a talent, you are looking out for yourself. You are negotiating and highlighting the value that you as an individual bring to the organization. And it doesn't matter what, how big your star is, you bring a unique value proposition to any organization that you are going to. And it could be some of the things that I just mentioned, the professionalism that you have. One of the things that, I still do this, I polish my shoes to a high shine. And that's just one of the kind of the trademarks that I have when I walk into, business meetings or various interviews. My shoes, I make sure my shoes are shiny all the time. I make sure that I'm dressed appropriately. I make sure that I'm presenting the professional image that you're expecting to see, and perhaps exceeding that to a degree to communicate the level of professionalism that I bring to the task or the situation that you have. This is something that, as a military veteran, you need to recognize that you may have a high standard of operation, of competency, of behavior, of professionalism. And I know for me, when I first released, I found I was having to readjust my expectations. Even just something like getting coffee, I would be standing in line to get coffee, and I would see the chaos that's happening behind the counter, and I would start to tighten up because I'm thinking, I want to direct that person there. You need to sort yourself out, pay attention there. You got to put some more people on the cash, get this lineup moving. I instinctively looked at things and wanted to fix them from an organizational standpoint. Create processes and make sure that things are moving smoothly. Whether that's a planning process, an operation, an execution, whatever it may be, I was always thinking that way and still do. But I have to manage and mitigate myself, dial it down a little bit so that I'm not so intense when I'm, for example, getting a coffee. But you, as a military member, regardless of your rank level and the positions you've held, you've been involved in various levels of this kind of organization, making sure that, concurrent activity is happening, that all the people are doing their specific roles at the right time, that you're working in concert to be able to accomplish the common goal. If you are subordinate, that your supervisors are properly supporting you. If you're somewhere in the middle, that you're providing support to your subordinates and informing and passing information up. And if you're on that higher level, then you're making sure that your personnel have all the resources, support, and time available to them to be able to get those things done. And monitoring throughout that process, no matter where you are in that ladder, monitoring the performance to make sure that people are safe, that people are effective, and that the task is getting done. You may not think that that's important, but it is. It is a mindset. It is a degree of motivation and drive that you as the military veteran have that is not in itself unique, but is a value proposition that not everyone brings to the table. As a military veteran, you have successfully done this throughout your military career. You are a known commodity. You have a track record. You have a reputation. You have a personal brand innately bred into the fact that you're able to do these things. So seize that. Take advantage of that. Advertise that. Let people know you're a military veteran, that you did all these different tasks, that you have a degree of professionalism, a degree of ability, a competency at executing in challenging circumstances during high-stress situations so that you are able to succeed where others may fail, that you are able to adapt and overcome where others may be sidelined, that you are able to drive success within the organization where others might give up. That is a quality, a characteristic that you have that is highly valuable to the organization. So I'll get off the soapbox a little bit there, but that's kind of where I wanted to start with the opening thoughts on the LinkedIn Live. I have, again, produced a lot of content when it comes to Getting to Hired, the video series. Again, you can find that on YouTube at Getting2Hired, and you'll see a number of interviews that we've done, ranging from the very first interview with Dwayne Cormier, who at the time was working with Canada Company. He's since moved on to do other things, with a particular program called the Pathfinder program that at the time was there to be able to help with skills translation for military members and resume writing and a lot of the skills that you're looking for when you come out of the military. The government has since provided or started up programs that provide very similar assistance, and so that program within Canada Company was shut down. But there's other programs that are being offered of a similar like. We also have interviews with mental health experts. Dr. Tim Black, for example, here at UVic. I live in Victoria, British Columbia, so the University of Victoria. He's a professor there, and he has developed a program or worked to develop a program called COPE, which is couples dealing with PTSD every day. And that is, we had an interview with Tim talking about that and the challenges that individuals may face when dealing with mental health issues. From you as a military veteran, if you're dealing with a transition and you have a physical or mental injury that you may be trying to manage or treat, it's important that you have all the tools that are available to you and understand the process. I know one of the biggest challenges from a personal perspective going through that journey is having operated or living a life where you're driving at 100% and you push to 110 or 15 or whatever the case may be, but you're operating at a high level all the time. You're pushing yourself. Once you get hurt, physically, mentally, or otherwise, you're not able to do the things that you used to be able to do. And you need to be able to go through a journey, a mental journey where you can be comfortable not being able to do perhaps what you did before. And as you get older, you kind of deal with that as well. But when you're younger and you deal with an injury, it's an acute moment where all of a sudden you can't do that thing anymore. Whether it's a traumatic injury like losing a limb, or if it's for example, maybe a soft tissue injury where you're not able to perform at the same level anymore, or that you constantly have to do work and exercise to be able to maintain mobility that before was, you just had naturally. Or from a mental health perspective, maybe you're not able to put yourself in those high stress circumstances anymore and operate at 100% all the time. You have to dial it back down to 80 or 60%, things like that. But I will say to you as a military veteran, if that's something that you're dealing with, understand whether it's physical or mental injury that you're coping with, your 80 or 60% is other people's 100% and 80%. And your ability to push past that and provide even added performance. Don't underestimate, after I was talking about all those things that veterans bring to the table, don't underestimate your level of performance as it relates to those around you, around the peers that you may have in the same field or industry that you may be looking to enter. So, like I say, so we had interviews with Tim Black and a number of other folks, subject matter experts, and great examples of success stories who have been successful in their transition and are good or having success on the other side of their military career. The most recent interview right now is with Jeff Alpaugh of Jeff Alpaugh Custom, and you can go to, again, YouTube at Getting2Hired, or check out the LinkedIn profile, my LinkedIn profile. You'll be able to see a lot of the articles relating to Jeff and some of the short videos that I've posted that are little snippets of that interview, talking about his first networking event and how he was very anxious and nervous about going into his first networking event. He'd never networked before, had no idea what to expect. To just understanding the uniform that we wear. In the echo of Remembrance Day here on the 12th of November, or Veterans Day if you're in the States, I still do this. Like, so for example, walking around yesterday, I'm looking at everybody in their uniforms, and there's a part of me that still mourns my military career. I want to be in my uniform. I want to be wearing that uniform and representing my country and knowing that was so much part of my identity. And I imagine, depending on your situation, you probably feel the same way as a veteran. You always feel that pride and that connection to your uniform. But the uniform we wear really amplifies or provides a level of confidence and capability and communicates competency depending on what we're doing. Jeff makes this really interesting comment about the guy who still likes to, and I still do this too, who likes to wear the cargo shorts and the Metallica t-shirt and all that stuff. And it's hilarious because I can relate to that. But, the person who shows up wearing that and saying that they don't care, they're communicating whatever it is they're communicating wearing cargo pants and a Metallica t-shirt with, stain here and stain there, whatever. Versus if you show up to a professional work environment, and if it's, for example, if you're wearing a suit, as in Jeff's case, you're wearing a proper fitting suit, measured for you. I'm reminded of Casino Royale when he puts on the tailored tuxedo, it's that classic kind of Bond image, the well-fitted, cut, tailored suit, and how that makes you look, the level of competency and proficiency that it communicates, the fact that you care about the way that you look and how you're seen, and the confidence that comes from wearing it. As Jeff says in one of the clips, he says, I went from knuckle dragging teenager to this highly competent professional, communicating confidence and competency in the interview. And that's really, the uniform we wear really represents the personality that we are, and the professionalism that we bring. And that's, for example, if you're a military veteran and the care that you took with your uniform, from polishing boots to pressing shirts and making sure everything fit just right, again, the pride in that uniform is, I always felt this, a great degree of pride. When I knew that I was having to leave the military and I had to turn my uniform in for the last time, it was a painful experience. Like, I have a video about that, actually, talking about the day of release and kind of like the emotional state that I was in at the time. But I digress. Yes, Getting to Hired is a series, and hopefully with this live stream, being able to come and participate in the community here at LinkedIn and help you be able to have access to the lessons learned, the resources, the skills, the traits, and the experience and the stories to be able to inspire you to be able to be successful in your military transition. Everyone's is a little different, but we all have common challenges and hurdles that we have to go through. And hopefully by sharing the stories here on LinkedIn Live, be able to talk about the experiences that I've had, that guests have had, and various things that we can explore that together, as I have in the context of Getting to Hired, the video series on YouTube and the pre-recorded stuff on LinkedIn. When it comes to this format, LinkedIn Live, I'm really going to need your participation to be able to drive the conversation forward. This platform is unique in that we are a community of professionals who are mindful and have a mindset around the professional consequences and effects of what we're doing here. So in the context of Getting to Hired, how can veterans be better able to find civilian opportunities that best suit them? How are they able to bring value to organizations? And if you're an organization, what is it about veterans that is appealing, that is valuable, that is a value added for you to want to specifically recruit veterans as opposed to any other demographic? Like, what is the value added proposition that they bring to the table? We've talked about that a little briefly at the very beginning. Your comments, I want to hear from you in the comments now about questions that you have, challenges you've experienced, things that you want to hear about. And if you're an organization, ask me a question about veterans. Tell me a story about a veteran that you have working for you. Share the successes or the hardships that you've experienced, and we can explore and talk about those things. The great thing about the LinkedIn community is that although I'm the one on the microphone, when you put your comments in the comments below, that those comments can be replied to and interacted with everybody else in the community. If you have a question, I may not have the answer, but the community does. If you have a story that you want to share, that could help somebody who read it in the comments. And we'll highlight those as we go through with this live series going forward, talking about the comments from previous episodes. So with all that being said, here we are 25 minutes in, and I was going to try and cut this shorter, but I'll share this one story. I ended the first take with this story, so I'll talk about the origins of getting to hired really quickly and how it can be of value to you, and then I'll sign off and we can go from there. So back in 2013, I was fortunate enough to have my daughter born in January, and I was a father for the first time. And I was in the military still, and I took that time to do some academic kind of studies, and allow me a little bit of time to be home to help with new baby coming home and first time parents, and very overwhelmed and crazy. Although I will say that my wife is a champ, and she is just an amazing mother. And but as a father, I was struggling. And throughout that year, I was away for training for long stints. I was sailing, and then I was on this deployment. So I, for all intents and purposes, missed the first year of my daughter's life. And when I came back, I was really overwhelmed as far as this fatherhood thing. And I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know what to do. But I was very focused on being a good dad. So I started what's called theaveragefather.com. It was a podcast. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll be able to see The Average Father there. And it was a podcast that I did to be able to give me an excuse to speak to, interview, and tap into these subject matter experts that were in the area of parenting, or in my case, fatherhood. The very first interview was with Anna Machin, who is a professor at Oxford University. And she had published an article and now a book talking about fatherhood. And the information that she shared with us in that first episode was amazing, because it really resonated for me. We talked about, the hormonal changes that men go through, the expectations, the cultural expectations, and the cultural norms when it comes to fatherhood. The role of a father historically versus maybe where it's going today, and what I called the 3 Ps, the the PPD, the protector, the provider, and the disciplinarian. And that was like the traditional role of a man or father in these family units, is that, you provided for your family. You were the, in older times and, in history, you were the protector. And often you were the disciplinarian. Although I'm sure there are many stories out there where people will say, no, my mom was a disciplinarian. But nonetheless, we talked about that. It was a great interview, and subsequent interviews with various other academics and authors and practitioners in the field of parenting. It was phenomenal, and it was a great experience because, again, it allowed me the opportunity to, from a selfish perspective, have access to these subject matter experts, get their information. But then I would rebroadcast, or tell 2 friends, more than 2 friends. Through the podcast, I would tell everybody about what I was learning, these lessons learned, these tools, these resources, and so on, and share them on the website. And it was a great exercise because I truly feel even today that my skills as a father greatly improved as a specific result of that program. So when it came time to transition, or I knew that I was going to be leaving the military, I basically did the same thing. Instead of audio, I went to video, and created a video series called Getting to Hired, which was documenting my journey transitioning from a military career into civilian life. And like I say, Dwayne Cormier was the first interview, Dr. Tim Black, various other subject matter experts and success stories as we've gone through. One of my highlights, and I can never praise this man enough, Eric Wright, and Vets to PM. talking about skills translation, helping military members gain their project management designations and, put that into practice. It's something that we almost all of us have experience doing in some form or another. And one interview, and if Greg's out there listening to this, I would love to interview you again, Greg Matt, with Helmets to Hard Hats. Helmets to Hard Hats, I mentioned earlier about helping military members, connect the dots when it comes to their military qualification and trades Red Seal certification, amongst other things, that Helmets to Hard Hats does to be able to help veterans. But yeah, lots of interviews with subject matter experts, and really, sharing the wealth and learning a lot for myself along the process, and understanding the challenges that not only I, but many of you as veterans are facing in dealing with military transition. So that's where Getting to Hired came from. It was an exercise for me to be able to reach out, tap into the expertise and the resources of those of you out there in the LinkedIn community who are experts in this field. And to be able to become an expert myself, a subject matter expert, tapping into the expertise of the community. So you as the viewer watching this now, I challenge you to do the same, to tap into this and this live stream, this line of questioning, this subject. If you're a military veteran, if you're even still in uniform, but you're thinking that at some point in the next 5 or 10 years, we all become veterans eventually, that you're going to be getting out, that you start engaging with this kind of subject matter, that you be able to understand the landscape in which you're going to operate, the work environment that you're going to be working in, because it's not, when I first applied to the military, I walked into the recruiting office with a paper resume in 2005. Actually, it was 2004 when I walked in, but walked in with a paper resume and started that process. The world has changed substantially. I mean, there were digital platforms, but basically they were they replicated the resume experience on a digital platform like Workopolis and Monster and various other things. But now the environment has changed so substantially when it comes to your reputation, and getting yourself out there and being able to find gainful employment and build those professional relationships. And this platform, LinkedIn, is a perfect example of how that has changed so profoundly. And so really now, for example, it's a process of, curating, commenting, and potentially producing your own content. As it relates to this, let me be the vector for you to be able to create content, and comment in the comments below. Ask questions. Let me know if things are working well for you. Are you a success story? Are you having challenges? Do you need help? Are you an organization who's looking to hire vets? How do we get a hold of you? Are there specific skill sets that you're looking for as an organization that veterans uniquely have, you just don't have enough of them? Or are there challenges that you're experiencing as an organization with hiring veterans, either gaining access to that talent pool, or you hire veterans and there's some kind of friction there? The benefit of LinkedIn is the community-based conversations that we can have, and the way that we can help each other, not only from me with this microphone, but from you with the comments below, and adding your 2 cents and starting the conversation that we can further build on with further episodes as we go forward. With that said, 34 minutes in, it is time for me to say goodbye. But with that, I will be broadcasting on a more consistent basis. Again, just testing out the system here. This is take 2. Take 1 didn't work out from an audio perspective, but we'll be sorting that business out as we go forward. So thank you very much for joining us here joining me on the Getting to Hired take 2 second LinkedIn live broadcast. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.